Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now welcome to another dev update. So again, been doing these more often recently, mainly because Riot has been doing them more. And you guys have been enjoying them. I think as a player for 10 years, you guys sometimes like the thoughts that I may have, if I agree, disagree, and all that good stuff. So this one is a bit weird, and I will say that. I had a very quick skim read just so I'm not completely in the dark with all of this. And this is all about items. Now the weird thing, and as you'll notice here, it says there, preseason 2021. Now, I know to a lot of us this year has gone quite fast. We're already in the 6th month, and I'm sure it will actually get faster in the year as a lot of our situations, you know, we're not just stuck in a house, for example. But we are still at least 6 months away from these changes affecting us, so it is a bit weird that Riot are already announcing this. But the first thing, just to say, it's all about items, and you can see here they are kind of making the point that we are updating kind of the look of items. So in Darkened Owl are the old item icons. So you got Rabadons, Rylays, Sanguine Blade, etc. And you can see there is a new Triforce, there's new boots, there's new Iceborne Gauntlet. I don't even know what that item is. It's probably a new item. So it's nice that we're kind of getting an update to items in general. But in essence, what they're doing is, and we're not going to like read through everything because you guys can just read through it yourselves. I want to get to the points that I can kind of start giving my opinions on. What they're doing is, last season they obviously did a big update to the gameplay of League. We had Rise of the Elements, where these big dragons that change the map depending what dragon it is. And some people have said that's really successful. I know there are some people that still aren't massive fans of it. Personally, I'm fine with it, and that's the word to use. I'm fine with it. I don't think, like, maybe I'm not the only one. I personally don't think the dragons changed the game that much. What I mean by that is every team is still going to go for dragons. Every team wants the dragon soul, and it affects you in some way. Like, whatever dragon soul you have, 9 times out of 10, you're still going to be doing the same stuff. What I mean by that is, you got fire dragon soul, where you're still mainly going to team fight at the end of the game. You've got ocean dragon soul, you're still mainly going to team fight at the end of the game. And whenever the dragons are spawning, you're still probably going to group to try and get the dragons. So I don't think they really changed much in that avenue personally. Maybe you guys think different, but yeah, that's fine. And I also think that is to stay, by the way. Like, there were some people, and I remember when I was talking about that change, like, oh, is this going to like last a year? Are they going to do these big gameplay updates every year? No, does not look like it, which I said, and that, you know, I think it would be weird to have a big gameplay update like that every year. So I think the dragon elements will be staying for the next few years, maybe even forever. And Riot, instead of doing a big gameplay update each preseason now, maybe for the next couple of seasons, they're going to be kind of focusing in on kind of the back end stuff and the not pure gameplay stuff, the stuff that kind of helps gameplay. And obviously this year is all about items. So, and by the way, I'm sure they'll do other things, not just this, but this is kind of be the main focus for this preseason. So, preseason 2021's gameplay changes will focus fully upgraded shop interface and a top-to-bottom rework of the item system. So, the shop interface, that's cool, I guess. So when you literally open the shop, it will look different, and we will be able to see that later in this video. But also, this is the bigger one. A full rework of the item system. And when they say full rework, they have noted that some of the items in the game are fine. You know, right now they are staying, they're fine. And that is 34% of items right now in the game will be basically the same in preseason and in 2021. 33% of the current items will be improved in some way. So changed, and changed hopefully for the better. And then 33% of items will be new. Now, I don't know if that means that, you know, 33% of the current items are going away to make room for 33% new items. That doesn't seem to be incredibly clear to me, at least. I would definitely presume we're going to have a lot, you know, well, we're going to have some items that are just going away. So, you know, if you've got, if you do a, let's say, a unique item build right now that, you know, oh, no one else does my item build, I would probably bet that that item, if it's a very unique item that nobody buys, would probably go bye-bye. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. So we're going to go into, firstly, what is the ideal item system in Riot's eyes, and then we're going to go into, I think, what they've already got planned. So the ideal system that Riot wants in place is items provide power for early game consequences and high moments. Their current assessment for how the current item system does is very good. So they feel, we're feeling pretty good about the current state of snowball and power curves in the game. This preseason shouldn't dramatically shift the overall power or gold efficiency of items in the game. I'd probably agree with this. Like if you're a decent league player, when you're on an item power spike that, like, let's for example give Darius as an example. You do pretty well in the early game. You go back and buy a Sheen. Well, that's a pretty decent item, and a lot of Dariuses will gain a lot of strength with Sheen. A lot of champions actually do. I've completed Triforce. Hello, I'm a lot stronger now. When these power spikes are happening, and if you are a good player that you can use that power spike, I come back to lane with my Triforce on Darius. Oh, my lane opponent hasn't based yet. I really right now should try to push that advantage. So that is something that I do feel Riot do well with. And the snowballing of items, yeah, I think that it's overall fine. I don't really think there's any item in the game right now, maybe apart from Death's Dance, that I think it's kind of an unhealthy item. I think every item has its place. I do think Death's Dance, obviously, and it's a relatively new item, I think it's relatively unhealthy. But that's about it. So overall, I would say Riot are very good with this so far. Items are satisfying to earn and use. So, yeah, good. Their current assessment is good. So the gold systems for earning items reward skill play. However, while there are many iconic and satisfying items in the system today, others have a lot of hidden, hard to notice power that makes them feel weak and unsatisfying. So, yeah, so there are some players out there that don't maximize items, but that is obviously not the item, that's the player. But Riot maybe... Well, in Riot's eyes, maybe they should make it more obvious about the item strength. A good example of this, there used to be an item. Oh, Deathfire Grasp, that was it. It was an item called Deathfire Grasp. And if you're a relatively new player, you never would have known what this item did. But basically, it was a burst mage item that a burst mage would buy, and you threw it. It was basically like an extra spell as an item, and you think of it as like a mini Viger ultimate, basically. It was point and click. You clicked it, you used the item on an opponent, and it did some damage, basically. It's hard to remember exactly what the item did, but it did some magic damage. It was either something to do with burst or maximum health. It was something like that. And they got rid of that item because they said, and I think they said at the time, it was something like 95% of players that buy Deathfire Grasp do not use the active. They didn't know to use the active. It was an item that I think at the time gave a lot of ability power, maybe like 120 ability power. So a lot of newer players or, not as skilled players bought it for the big AP, but then didn't use it for its primary use was the active. So what Riot here is saying, maybe they need to make it more obvious about some of the items in terms of their strength level with their passives. I personally say they're very good at doing this, but I'm speaking as a player that will obviously read all the items in the game and actively get an item build, to use their actives. Not every player does that, and maybe Riot does have to make that more obvious. I don't know how they do that, and, their current assessment, yeah, it's good. Definitely good. I would put it very good, but Riot probably has the data that, like, oh god, a lot of people don't use the actives on these items. How do we make it more obvious? Like, guys, you need to use the actives on Righteous Glory or wherever it may be. Lock it. They've got actives. Use the actives. So overall, I think it's fine, but that's okay. Reactive item choices add game-to-game variance and reward strategy. So, for some champion classes like tanks, the item system offers a rich strategic depth and choices. On the other hand, we have a number of classes and champions with very linear builds without room for adaptation. Mage items are particularly solved. So they've put current assessment okay. I'd actually put this kind of like meh. So Riot has struggled with this for a long time, not just with items, but also with runes. With they used to be called masteries. Riot is always like, we want to give the player the power. We want to make you have your play style that you want to do, and it's not a disadvantage over what other people are doing because you're doing, and it has strength. They've never been able to nail this because every single game that you play, there is always going to be the best build for that game. Now, for let's say an AD carry, that best build is practically the same every single game. Like, you're going to buy Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, and RFC on your first 3 items playing as Jhin every game. For an example, again, that might be wrong, but you know what I mean. You're going to buy the 3 same items no matter what you're against every game. That's pretty boring. That's pretty boring. That doesn't give like a rewarding strategy to your item purchases. You're just buying the same stuff every game. So Riot doesn't want that to be. But then on the other hand, and they have said here, tanks on the other hand are weirdly the most diverse when it comes to item builds, because there are quite a lot of tank items and a lot of them are strong items. So if you're against, you're playing Shen top lane, you could do the Titanic Rush build, you could do the Sunfire build, you could do the Sunfire Tiamat build, where you could go the Adaptive Helm Rush build, or you could go Thornmail Rush if you really wanted to. There's a range of different item builds that you will do depending what you're against. Again, versus AD Carry, where they're building the same 3 items in a row every single game. Or mages, if you're playing a typical mage in mid lane, guess what? You're building Luden's Echo, probably a Deathcap second, and maybe Morellonomicon third every single game. So yeah, I think Riot has admitted this, so they know about it, and because they're saying, we know about it, then that is something that maybe the new item system will solve. Then finally, well, not finally, there's a couple more, 2 more. Item augments your champion's playstyle. So how much does your item affect how you play the champion? Very little. So if you again look in the game right now, I think this point hurts this point, because you're not doing a different playstyle, because you're just building the same item build every game. For example, if you're an AD carry, well, you're going to play the same way with you're doing the same item build. The only big one here is like what actually affects playstyle. The only one I can practically think that actively changes your playstyle is mage builds that are either the full AP mage build or glacial builds. That's basically it. Like, maybe the assassin build, if you're going Sanguine Blade, obviously that will enable you to split push more, I guess. But yeah, so if you're playing an AP mage and you're doing a full AP mage build, well, you'll be playing for burst, playing for damage. If you're going the glacial build with the utility glacial items, well, obviously your damage is a bit less, but you'll be playing more for utility. That does change your playstyle. But yeah, there are very few examples of item builds that actively change your champion's playstyle. It isn't really a thing. They're giving the example here is a perfect example of this today is Trinity Force, which adds a nuanced but not overly complicated new auto attack pattern. Not every item should do this individually, or else. So yeah, when you buy Triforce, you can get like a buff and all that. So again, Riot's mentioned this, but I will say I think they're going to be careful with it here or there. Like, how diverse can they go? We'll see, but yeah, we'll have a little looky look how what it will do. Like, for example, AD carries, maybe there's an item that increases your range on your auto attacks like RFC, but it overall lessens your auto attack damage by 10%. Well, again, so that would change your playstyle because it lessens your damage, but you are safer because your auto attacks are longer. Or, hell, your auto attacks are shorter on AD carries than standard, but your auto attack damage is 10% buffed. Obviously a riskier strategy, but you are getting a benefit and it will change your champion's playstyle. So who knows? The item system is I know what that word is, I just can't say it right now. With a deep and complex item system, the choices, stats, and ways you acquire items should be clear, and that word again. The current assessment of this is poor. So this is a clear area of improvement for us in many areas. Navigating the shop, the way stats stack and interact, and understanding trade-offs between item uniques and stats are all areas we could improve. Again, I personally don't feel this way, but you have to remind yourself a lot. If you're watching this video, you are in the small percentage of League player that actively is looking to improve, and you might be in a percentage of a rank that's higher than average. The average player is what Riot makes a lot of these big changes for, and the average player doesn't look up any guides, they don't watch any streams, they don't watch any YouTube videos to actively improve. They just play the game. They don't read patch notes, they won't read any of these changes. So to the average player that is just playing the game, their item builds, and I can tell you right now, are pretty bad because they're not looking up item builds. They're not understanding how items synergize well together. So they're just building kind of random stuff, and their builds are very inefficient. So in that respect, I guess it is poor because Riot has no way in game really of like making you fully understand. You get the understanding by coming to content creators or on guides. So maybe they need to have a better system for that in the actual game itself. A lot of prospective players who love League are scared away by the impenetrable item system in their first few games. So I have heard this before. New players are like, oh, I can kind of get the gameplay, but what the hell is the item system? We believe learning the item system over time is a key part of growing as a League player, but whatever system can be a roadblock. So I've said this for a while. So part of this item update thing, I hope they really update the recommend item builds. Maybe like legit, they could talk to get champion mains involved for God's sake. Like get those players talking and go, what would you say is the cookie cutter build for this champion that if you do this build, you'll never go too wrong? And sure, there may be better things for the specific game you're in, but there's that. In pretty much every single MOBA that I've played, and I have played pretty much all of them, there is an auto buy system for new players that if you're new to the game, you can just turn on auto buy so you can purely focus on gameplay. But when you go back to the shop, it will literally purchase you items that it thinks is good for you. And again, it might not be the best item build, but when you're brand new to League and you're just leveling up, that should be fine. That is fine. And maybe that is a system with this new item, overhaul, they could implement. And I think they should, if I'm honest, because League is a complicated gameplay game. Adding items to that when you're new is very overwhelming. So maybe, again, this being specifically about the items, they could add a automatically purchase system that you could turn on and off. You could have it on if you're a ranked player if you really want, or you could turn it on, build an item set and then it does it for you up to a certain point. You're like, okay, they might be trying to get away from this point, but right now, if you're an AD carry, you legitimately could just set the auto buy to buy your first 3 items because they're the same every single game anyway. And then the last 3 items, or 2 items if you're including boots, you then can decide what you're going to buy or something like that. So there's that. Overall, I agree pretty much with what their own assessments are of the current item system. Their goals, though, of moving forward. Item purchasing is quick and new, whatever. I literally can't say that word right now and I feel dumb. Yeah, like maybe purchasing items does take a little bit too long at the moment. I have spent sometimes like, oh God, what do I buy right now? And been a little bit too long and lost a few minions to my tower. So maybe it could be a bit quicker. Every champion can make strategic decisions through item choices every game. Okay. Yeah, again, tanks can do that. Which damage type do I itemize against? But not many other classes do. Cool. Item builds enable exciting ways to master your champion. So they are actively looking for items to change the way your champion plays slightly, which is interesting. Items feel especially powerful and enhance your champion's fantasy. So making certain items or certain power spikes feel like a proper power spike, which I do think is in the game right now, but maybe they want to make that even bigger. And iconic items are retained and you won't have to relearn everything from scratch. So there are some items that I can pretty much say like they're probably going to keep. Triforce, Rabadon's Death Cap, the items that are like key to League of Legends that have been around for a long time, that what's the point? Archangel stuff with Tyr and stuff. I don't see that going away. Warmogs probably will stay as well. Like there are some items that are like, yeah, they're fine. They're just staples of League of Legends. Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, probably these items will most likely stay. Phantom Dancer probably as well. Polishing every item. So beyond our goals for the project overall, we also laid out some principles we think every item should meet. Items have a clear, unique, and a single purpose. Single purpose is interesting. So, we want every item in the shop to have a clear purpose that sets it apart from the other choices in the shop. Multiple items are overlapping in purpose. Okay, sure. If you look at armor items, some of them do overlap quite a lot. So, like, they might give bigger separation to some of the items. Like, if you look at the armor items, you know, health and armor, well, you've got some fire, you've also got dead man, and obviously there is a slight difference there. Like, dead man gives you the increased movement speed and the auto attack buff, so, you know, every now and then. Sunfire gives you the AoE burning passive, but they do the kind of same job, so maybe they'll separate those more. That's just one example I can come up with right now. Items fit 1 or 2 archetypes, either a contextual purpose or a kit augment. So, in picking apart as successful items that have improved the game over the years, we have discovered the items in general can be broken down into 2 major types. Contextual purpose, situational items that allow players to counter certain champions or events. So like a QSS, you build that if, you know, you're an AD carry and you're going to get Maud ulted or Skarner ulted. QSS is your best friend. You're going to buy that every now and then when it's needed. Those items are good, and they should not disappear. Kit augments are items that are pickable in any game and have a satisfying synergy with champion kits in order to, make them feel complete, like Lichbane. So yeah, if you're playing Victor and one of your abilities is an auto attack, when you Q somebody, you get an empowered auto attack. Well, what's perfect for that is Lichbane. Your Q activates the Lichbane auto attack buff, and when you're going to go for the next auto attack with the Q, you then also use Lichbane. So it's using an item that perfectly meshes with a champion, and maybe they do need some of those, more of those items. I do agree. Interesting build paths. So this is another thing they're looking to do. Provide variety and small choice opportunities. Great legendary items tier 3 have smaller choices peppered throughout each component or advanced item choices. Small optimizations to respond to a lane matchup. If I'm building Trinity Force, do I buy Stinger for longer all-ins or Sheen for trades? Or risk-reward trade-offs around buying small and saving up for bigger components. I have 1100 gold. Do I go back for a pickaxe or risk staying for a BF sword? Are good examples of this working well. Yeah, I like these type of options and choices because that enables you as a player to... That is a difference. You know, if you're playing Gangplank or Darius, that you are building Triforce, that is probably the best example to give right now. There are some Darius players that will go Phage first. There are some Darius players that will go Sheen first. And I even have seen some matchup Dariuses go Stinger first, because if they're going to auto-attack more to get their passive, well, then Stinger is the option to go. You can go all 3. It just depends how you want to play and how the game is allowing you to play. That's really good. That offers you choice, variety, and it's not going to be the same every single game. So they are probably looking to do that more, which is good. Item design is elegant, and we only use the mechanics that we need. Over time, a lot of items have accumulated some unnecessary bloat in the number of stats and passive effects. We can do this, we can do the work to focus items. Yeah, like, there are items that, like, okay, they've got a bunch of stats and they've got 2 passives, and, like, the text of an item box is, like, insane. You're like, okay, that's a lot of stuff for one item. Maybe they need to streamline that a little bit more, and that's something that they might do. Items can contribute to a healthy game by not removing counterplay and weaknesses. So this is a good example that I believe Death's Dance is a good example of. And it's weird because Death's Dance is one of the newest items that have released to the game. But if you actually see here, by not removing counterplay and weaknesses, like some champions should have weaknesses, like AD carries should be. And, you know, I know it's a big, it's a big hot topic right now because AD carries have been complaining about their game health. But if you misposition as an AD carry, I think you should be able to get killed by an assassin or a mage that catches you out, right? Like, you've mispositioned as the squishy AD carry, you got caught, you're dead. So many AD carries now are buying Death's Dance, and the tankiness that they get from Death's Dance is keeping them alive, even if they misposition. That is removing a weakness from an AD carry that they should technically have. You know, the trade-off for being an AD carry is you do insane amounts of damage, but you're squishy, you die very fast. Well, Death's Dance is relatively unhealthy because the counterplay of an AD carry is, oh, they're alone, kill them. But because Death's Dance, oh god, they're so tanky, and it still does a decent amount of damage for an item, it just kind of removes that. Now, a fix to this, by the way, I have seen floating around is make Death's Dance a melee-only item. Very easy fix, then AD carries cannot use the item. So maybe they'll do that, but anyway. So that's all that. That's cool. I agree with pretty much everything that they say. The big shop upgrade. So we'll go through this relatively fast, but there is the new look for the shop. Yeah, it looks a lot cleaner. So right away, there are suggested items and a common build. Oh, that's good. So this is what I was speaking about earlier. If you're a new player, like, what the hell do I build? Well, this obviously looks a lot better, and you even see it's got counters. So, for example, these champions, I can guarantee, will only appear if they're in the game against you. Because, like, and Riot will know, like, if you're wondering how will Riot get that data, they'll probably just look at percentages of items build against percentage matchups. So, you know, you're playing Galio against Cassiopeia, the percentage of Gallios that buy Protobelt is high. Oh, therefore we'll put it as a suggested item for this game. That will change depending what champion you're on, and I'm pretty sure it'll change depending who you're against. So that is really good for new players or lesser skilled players or whatever you want to say. That's really good, because that, in essence, is what a lot of these external guide websites are doing. You know, that's literally what they do. They look up game data about, you know, from one matchup to another in a certain rank, and that's the item build that they're going to show you. Well, this is doing it in a more simple fashion, but in a good fashion. It's clean, it's healthy, etc. And then at the bottom, this again is going to be the most commonly percentage bought items on the champion you're playing against whatever's on the enemy team. And let's be honest, that is right now a very standard mage build. Now, the only thing I will say that is a bit iffy to me is it is showing you Ludens and it is also showing you GLP. If I had to guess, this person, or whatever this champion might be, could be a Nico. Maybe with, I don't know, Glacial Nico. But showing both of these could get confusing, because what if a player, you know, a new player is like, I want to buy this and I want to buy this. Well, you can't, because they share the same passive. So again, it's brand new. That's just a little thing that obviously I just said, and by the time this actually comes out in 6 months, I doubt it's going to matter anyway. But overall, I like it. You got the utility trinket stuff up here. And this one is obviously showing you the mage potion, because obviously you're playing a mage in this situation. If you're playing a tank, then that will show the tank one. And there's boots down here, commonly built boots. And then you can go to all items. Like, for example, I most likely, I don't know, maybe I'll have it on all items all the time. Or if this is actually proving really good, then I'll keep this. And you can see here, it's telling you in essence what the item is in essence doing. So that seems really good. So well done to Riot. So better recommendations, focused choices, don't remove the strategy and contextual analysis. So I'm not going to go through all of this because I think it's fairly, you know, self-explanatory, all of it. They're just making it better. And then there's the all items. So, whoa. So this seems quite complicated, but it is also more organized. So you've got your legendary items, which are complete items. You've got your starter items that are components. So you can see here that this has tank selected and maybe the sword, so a physical tankish champion. That's what it, well, physical tank champion. It's showing you the bruiser items, it's showing you AD items. Well, no, okay, yeah, that's what it is. Tank items, all the tank items are showing, and the sword, all the physical sword items are showing. Yeah, again, you can, by the way, click that. You can already see popular. So if you're a newer player, you can just click popular and just buy what is in the popular section. That's good. Again, it looks better. It genuinely does look better than what we've currently got. Still, we said about earlier how many stats and everything items have and how much text. This is still a lot, right? Like, to fully digest, for, especially when we're thinking of a new League of Legends player, that is a lot for a new player to digest what's going on. But we'll see. But overall, the store looks good. All items you need in one screen. So that's what they're trying to fix. Because, like, if I'm playing Darius, I'm using Darius a lot, apparently, and I go onto all items, I technically don't need to see AP items, right? I don't need to see them. It just creates mess on the screen. So that's what they're doing. They're removing the bulk of the champion you're playing. Now, obviously, who this is going to hurt if you're playing something off meta. So if you're playing Cogmore, obviously natural Cogmore is going to be the AD carry items. But if you play AP Cogmore, well, I don't know if you can by default just be like, no, when I play Cogmore, show me AP items. I don't know, maybe, but that would be interesting. Consistent position, so every single time you're looking in the same place to make it faster for purchasing an item. And data enhancements as well. So finding items and buying quicker will be easier than ever. So that is it. I think the store looks really good. I think their ideas of what they're moving forward is good overall. Do I think the item system in League needs an update? Yes, I will say that. So I do think this is a good area for Riot to hone in on, because Yeah, like maybe, you know, I've played this game for a long time, so maybe the item system to me is just stale anyway because I've played for so long and it's kind of felt the same forever. But I do think it needs an overhaul anyway. You know, a lot of the champions you're playing, you're building the same item build every single game. And now I will say, do I have faith that this change will change that? If I'm completely honest, no. Riot have tried to do this for years, not just with items, with runes as well. They've always been like, we want to give the player the choice in every single game. They can make multiple choices that will change how they play their champion. It never goes well because there's always the item build that is just best. There just always is. So I'd be interested to see if they finally can do that. But personally, I'd say it probably won't happen, but we'll see. But let me know what you guys think. Reminding people the reason why Riot is addressing this so early is to collect feedback. So there very well could be a Rioter watching this video. There very well could be a Rioter in the comments. So leave your feedback, leave your comments for Rioters. If you think there's a certain item that is really unhealthy for the game, well, put that in the comments too. Because they are obviously, as we said, doing a lot of changes. So if you think there's an item that should not be in the game or it should be changed, well, let Riot know. But that's going to be it. If you guys did enjoy, throw a like on it, throw a subscribe, comment down below. See you guys next time. Peace.